We are here with Lorne Weil, who is the executive chairman of Inspired Entertainment. And Lorne, you have had a great year. Your business is growing double digits in all segments. You continue to expand geographically. You're expanding your product lines. How do you find time to do all of this?
Well, let me illustrate it with a joke. I don't normally like to do that, but sometimes I get asked a question that the best answer is illustrating it. So this is about a woman whose sink is leaking terribly, and she can't get the sink to stop leaking. So she calls the plumber. The plumber comes over and says, "What is it, lady?" She says, "It's my kitchen sink. It's just leaking like a terrible on the floor." So he goes over, puts his head, listens a little bit, gets down on his feet, takes his hammer out of his bag, and knocks 3 times on the wall. Sink immediately stops leaking. Woman says, "My God, you're a genius. That's a miracle. How much do I owe you?" And he says, $1,000. And she says, $1,000 for knocking on my wall? And he says, no. For knocking on the wall, it's only 100. For knowing where to knock is 900. So, I've been doing this for so long that by now I know where to knock.
Well, you've been knocking, and you've been knocking it out of the park. Your stock price as well just tripled in the past year. A lot of what you're doing, it seems to me, is stuff, you've said you've been doing it so long. A lot of it is stuff that you actually have done before, like the VLTs and
right.
those sorts of things. But you're also in a new world with the virtual sports and with online. How is, if we came back 2 or 3 years from now, what kind of company would Inspire look like?
So if we came back 3 or 4 years from now, let us say, I would be disappointed if Inspired wasn't twice the size of what it is now, or more, and considerably more than twice as profitable as it is now, although right now we're extraordinarily profitable. And I would say about half of that business would be either from what's now become known as iGaming or virtual sports, which is effectively iGaming, but it's a different display. And half of it would be the traditional server-based gaming business that was the Inspired business when we bought it.
It's a great name for the company too, Inspired. One of the things everybody's had to deal with in this past year and a half has been COVID. And it's had a couple of impacts pretty much for everybody. One of them was the contraction of the operators' budgets last year as they conserved money. Do you see those budgets loosening now?
Well, interestingly, our business is not driven to a significant degree by operators' budgets. As I think you and I have talked about before, about 90% of our revenue and profitability is participation driven. And it's driven by assets, whether it's machines or software or systems that were out in the field before COVID, were continued to be in the field all during COVID, and the minute COVID ended, we simply turned them all back on. So we don't really have an issue with operators increasing their budgets. And in that same context, we don't have any and haven't had any issue with supply chains. A lot of people who are affected by budgets also have, when the budgets finally turn on, they have to make the stuff to sell. So they've got to buy the parts, they've got to hire people to come into the plant, do all of that stuff. And there's been tremendous disruption in all that. But again, in our business, the minute the world turned on, or has been turning on with the end of COVID, we had no supply chain issues because all of our stuff was already out in the field and all we had to do was turn it on.
It's interesting, we've asked this question of everybody who's come in so far, and we want a real gamut of answers.
I better be careful what I say then.
We're at G2E, and you do not have a booth here this year, but you do have new products and products that you're proud of. What are 2 or 3 of the products that you think people should really know and understand?
Well, I think our latest products, and that we're products that we're just introducing now, are products for the iLottery world. So over the course of the almost 2 years of COVID now, we had phenomenal growth in our iGaming business. So games that we were developing for the BetMGMs of the world, and that's gone phenomenally well. But in the meantime, there has arisen a tremendously exciting business in iLottery. It's, in essence, it's the lottery world counterpart of iGaming, as I think you know, of that 40 or 50 years that we talked about before. A big part of that, in my case, was spent in the lottery world, so it's a world we understand, and we have developed a set of products for the iLottery world that we're incredibly excited about, that we're going to begin seeing in North American lotteries before the end of this year, which is amazing considering that we really didn't start this initiative until this really partway through 2021. And I think as we go forward, this will be one of the big growth drivers for the company.
When you sell a product like that, are you selling it to the lottery or are you selling it to the contractor that manages the lottery?
Okay, well, it's all over the place. Sometimes it's to the lottery contractor. So for example, in Pennsylvania, where we have our virtual sports with the Pennsylvania Lottery, our customer is actually my former employer, Scientific Games, who's the prime lottery contractor to the state of Pennsylvania, and we subcontract to them. We have a couple of other North American lotteries that we're going to be launching with before the year is out, where our customer is the actual lottery itself, although of course we have to technically cooperate with whoever is the lottery contractor. So it could be one or the other.
As I mentioned, your stock has been very, very successful in this past year. What do you tell investors today about your thesis?
Well, I think the fundamental thesis is it's the same answer to the question you asked a few questions ago, Frank, that we see a very, very clear path. Let's say 3, at most 4 years from now, to double the size of the company, double the revenues, double the profitability, and very significantly increase the returns. And we're going to be able to do that because there is just tremendous momentum in the markets that we're addressing. I mentioned the lottery business, the iGaming business, the virtual sports business. So we don't have to perform any magic tricks to execute that performance. And we don't have to worry about finding new growth areas or diversifying or doing something crazy that's going to backfire. If we simply continue to execute on what we're doing now in that time frame, there's little doubt in my mind that we will achieve those results.
Blocking, tackling, and knocking in the right place.
100%.
Lorne, thank you. It was very informative.
My pleasure, Frank. Thank you.